cool people in the arts, I'm scared of them because I think they know something I don't know. Because for me, it's difficult to be in the arts.
Yeah. And you're happy to be labeled Uzenza Ngcono for that.
Well, yes, I know. Go for it. Yeah, you can just absolutely go for it. My phone rings, is a number I don't know. And I go, hello, and it's a voice I don't know. And the voice says, hey, Mfanagit. And I said, who's this? And it says, it's you. And I said, sorry? He says, it's you. It's Masekela. How are you, James? And I said, fine. And by you, I remember we went to have a meal at a restaurant called La Cucina del Ciro.
King David Studio podcast.
I'm hanging out with someone whom I consider quite amazing. You know, kuna Denzel Washington in other countries. And in South Africa, we have the likes of James Ngcobo. The petty people don't have a Q. We don't have a C. We don't combine G's and C's. It's not something that we do. And it's easy for me to get the pronunciation of your name wrong because it's not natural to my tongue.
Yeah.
Ngcobo.
Yeah. But I get it. I get it, Mashabela, because also in Sizulu language is the only language in this country that doesn't have an R.
What?
So when I moved to Joburg and people are saying Ritabile, Rimafulufulu, I was like, what is this? You know what I mean? We just don't have it.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And so you can hear in our accent or our lilt when we speak English the R hurdle. Because we do. Yeah. And then I grew up in Durban. As you know, that Durban as the biggest community of Indians outside of India.
Of course.
You've got the Tamil, the Rajasthan, the Gujarati.
There's a lot of R's.
Yes, there are a lot of R's, and they don't have a V. When you say to an Indian guy whose name is Rajesh, you say, how are you? He says, I'm very good.
Yes.
You know,
because it's a V or a B sound for them.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which then for them in an interesting way goes towards Vanda. Vanda with the,
with the B's and the B's.
Yeah. Wow. And that's the beauty of language that for me I find the world I'm in, the world of story. That if we've translated a piece by Eskem Patlele, who is, I'm a freak for Eskem Patlele, and I took a story that he wrote called Father Returns Home, and I gave it to Rami Chuene, who's already a published Sepedi, right? And she translated it, and it was called Tate Itahai. And I was sitting in a rehearsal room listening to actors, Baba Pedi speaking Sepedi, and others telling me that no, this Pedi is Dogwa, this is for that region. This is amazing.
Even I know, because where I grew up in Mamelodi, there was a lady Onabuaka Dabator. And she held on to that language. Didn't allow the Pretoria influence to overshadow her roots. And she would speak in that way. When they say Otlapatloho, they say Odabator.
You see,
it has a Venda feel to it almost immediately. And it's a dialect, and that's the beauty about the country we live in. It has these. If it was a river, it has a lot of streams that go into all sorts of it. And I'm sure it influences how we tell our stories.
Yeah.
It has to.
Completely.
Yes.
You know, and what it does also, there is for me a very interesting business acumen that is around a commitment to celebrating or creating a visibility of who we are. Because what it does, and in the years I've been at the market, and we'll get to it, but what I realize is that those works, when you produce them, they bring an audience that people who have worked front of house at the market for more than 20 years, they tell you that we've never seen these people.
What?
And these people have been waiting for something that resonates with them to come to the space. And so issues when people say, audience, what do we write about? Apartheid is now gone. And I go, our story was never only about apartheid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I've commissioned works about the batrapping that is set in 18 something. Moachim Dise wrote about it because I said to him, I'm quite fascinated by the idea of what were our people doing before Jan van Riebeeck got here.
They were not waiting for Jan van Riebeeck in
looking
Cape
at the
Town.
ocean machine thinking there's a...
It's coming.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah. I like what you're saying about there's an audience that's waiting to be served.
Yeah.
Because, Mina, I've been a theater lover for many, many years. And for some reason, I just stopped because I used to use it to charm sis.
Yeah.
And then I stopped because I realized that they didn't look like they were having fun. But what you're saying that there's an audience that's waiting to be served in the audience space.
Yeah.
Is it, and I use the word still, just bear with me. Is it still a strong business venture? A theater space.
Completely. Theater is a business venture if you don't treat it like a relic from the past. If you are completely synchronized with where the country is at. And theater needs that synchronicity because theater, the well that it drinks from is the contemporary tapestry. That is where theater gets its muse. It's what are the stories out there? I'll tell you, David, quite early when this country went through its biggest metamorphosis, which was around 1994. And I sat in panels in this country and internationally, and people will pose questions about content and about South Africa and about where do we go as theater curators. At the one time, I was in the south of France. I was in Toulouse, invited by the university there, and I was talking. They said to me, "What drives you, James, as a curator?" And I say to them, "I walk around." The country. I remember I was in Pretoria East to meet somebody, and then I moved from Pretoria East to another part of Pretoria, around Pretoria North, and whatever. And I was listening, and I was hearing things I never heard because I grew up in this country. And for me, it dawned on me that we have new stories that have come with people from wherever they come from, and that is why I was one of the first. If not the first, and I say this with all the humility in the world, but it's fact, director to start directing works from Mali, works from Nigeria, and for audiences to walk into a theater and see a Siyabonga Twala and a Warren Masimula speaking Igbo. You know, for an audience to walk into a theater and see Waruna Siane, Fezilempela, Silumake, Ntati Mushesh speaking Yoruba. When I did the Wallace Show Yinka, there's a Nigerian writer who's a Nobel laureate that we never staged in this country. What? And so to answer you is that's where the business comes from. That's where the low-hanging fruit comes from, because you're sitting in the theater and you are seeing not only Nigerians, you are seeing West Africans that are coming, because these writers are like everywhere in West Africa. And so the last one that we did was The Fisherman. One of the last ones that we did was The Fisherman, and it's written by a guy called Dr. Chikoti Obieme. He's an associate professor at the University of Nebraska. I saw so many people from Nigeria and Ghanaians coming to watch this work, and they were all saying to me, "Thank you, brother, for creating a visibility of our narrative." Wow. And so there's your answer. There's a new audience.
There's always an audience.
They're buying tickets. They're coming to watch the work. And I'm sure you've heard also that the other thing I started in this country was Black History Month. I started Black History Month, and this is a universal celebration of Black narrative. And for me, I thought one of them big quest for the struggle was how we collide with Black narrative, a universal Black story.
Is there a universal Black story?
Yeah, no, there's definitely a universal Black story. You sit in London with Black sisters and Black brothers. You sit in Washington D.C. You could be in Chicago. You could be in Utrecht, in Amsterdam, sitting with the people who come around Venezuela. Those originally from West Africa who were taken by the Dutch, and you sit and break bread with people, and the stories are just, the similarity is
it's incredible. Eh?
Yeah, you get shocked by it.
What unifies us as humans in that uniformity of story? What is it? Is it a shared history of struggle, a shared history of colonialism, or a shared history of, or shared view of the world? What is it that brings us together?
It's things that we lost in the fire, that links us, because a universal black story is the one of degradation. We've experienced that more than anybody else. It's that, but the other story is a story of how tenacious we are.
Yeah.
That with all the problems that are around us, that is the thing that I absolutely love about us, that we are tenacious. There are people I meet who, a guy is a dean in a faculty at a university, and he has studied everywhere in the world, and when you hear where he grew up, you think, my God, how did that village produce just you?
We're talking about how the similarities of our Taki.
Yeah.
Struggle sometimes worries me because we tend to hold on to it for too long.
Yeah.
I'm one of those people who believe that kick the corner of the bed with your toe, limp for a few seconds, and dust yourself off, and let's go.
Yeah.
Do we hold on to it longer than we need to? That's the narrative of a struggle.
Yeah.
And I use South Africa as a reference to that because we seem to be making every story we tell go back there.
Yeah.
Or do we? Maybe my perspective is wrong. Do we, as Abotaki, in our similarities, also feed too much from our worst days?
I always say, David, there's a huge difference or a clean line between a sense that you are holding on because there is trepidation about where else to go, because we hold on to pain because it's that's what you know. And then the flip side of that is memory.
Okay.
And you are able, and I will tell you, the nations that run the world are nations who have mastered memory. What to do. They are light years ahead of everybody else. Because the memory space, they're very clear about. It's not an albatross around their necks, but it is memory. And for me, it's what I've done all the time when I curate works, that you look for. I commission works that are completely in the now. I've just commissioned a thing called Letambwa and sent it out. It was a clarion call, got young people to write about it. And I had 52 submissions, and I was on my way to go and open a play by HUGH called Blood Knot in Cape Town. We just had a killer season in Cape Town. You'll see where I'm going with this. This play, HUGH wrote it in 1961. It's called Blood Knot. It is a parody on race. It is, in my view, I think the most genius play that HUGH has ever written, because he messes with an audience in an unbelievable way. He takes a clearly white guy and a clearly black guy and put them in a shack where they live in a place called Korsten outside of PE. And the blood knot is they share a mother, but the one has a white father and the other one has a black father. They come from the same womb. They're brothers.
Yes.
And I watch audiences in Joburg and audiences in Cape Town, and we're in talks to take the piece to the UK. One of the places will be Liverpool. Is people watch this play with an idea that the one thing we are yet to crack in this country is a concept of brotherhood.
Yeah.
And so when you look at the pertinence of the work, how it spoke in 1961 and how it speaks
even now,
it's absolutely unbelievable. Then you say to people, what is old about that piece? because there's nothing more.
Yes.
And so that is the memory thing that I'm talking about. Not to just make a play about apartheid.
Just because.
Not just because. No. That for me, doesn't excite me.
It isn't an overdone thing. And your perspective is obviously very close to the commissioning of work.
Yeah.
Have we overdone the apartheid plays and stories? Because you find that a lot, even in movies where you find Tsotsi and those that look like Tsotsi, for example.
Yeah.
Is it something that we've done a lot of?
We've done a lot of, and in one way. So we need to, the new way hasn't been explored a lot. Because you will sit and watch a movie called The Pianist with Andre Brody, and he's this hot pianist, and he goes to a place to try and play, and the owner says, no, you can't play. And you're sitting in the auditorium, you eating your popcorn. The character doesn't know why he can't play, but you know as an audience that it's because he's Jewish.
Oh, nothing else.
Nothing else.
Yeah.
And it's one of the most genius movies about the Holocaust that I've ever seen. And it's just tackling the idea of that subjugation and that belittling
But
of
in a
the
different
people
way.
in a different way. I love traveling, and there are little dorpies, little towns that you get to. I was in a town, and I was taking my lady. I just wanted to go to the bush and just walk and things. For a week, I booked at this beautiful place, and so we get to this town, the last town before you get to this place, and I said to my lady, I'm just gonna get us some wine that we're gonna have during the week, and we'd already bought things to cook the rabbits, and all the things too. So I go there and I pick wine, and as I'm making my way to the till, somebody taps my shoulder, and I turn, and very sweet, the guy says to me, black people pay on the other side. And I didn't want to get into squabbles and into stuff and spoil my mood of the holiday. I went that side, I paid, got into my car, I left. Now that story
is now,
and yet it's a yesteryear story. So those are the stories we need to see. So it's not sitting with the big toy that is happening in 1976. It's right now, and somebody just tell you with and the smile beamed from this guy. There was sunrise on his face, a white guy.
Yes,
and he realized I don't know, and he just said to me, "This is what we do here."
That side.
Pay that side.
And this is in South Africa.
In South Africa. And I went the other side, paid, got to the car. I only told my lady when we were there, she was fuming. Yeah, I'm fuming.
I'm fuming listening to you.
Dare you? She said, you went there to pay. And I said, well, that's why we have the wine. I went.
Otherwise, we wouldn't have the wine.
And it would have been also a thing that would have appeared on social media platforms, me fighting with this person. And I looked at this person, I just thought, you have so much weight on you and hate on you that is getting in the way of your spirit to not, and don't need a transaction it. I'm going to go and pay.
And move on with your life.
So we need to see those stories, how the socialization and the systems that we've had in this country are in collision with us today, holding on to the aspirations of the future.
It's amazing. Where were you born?
I was born in a township called Wamashu in Devon.
Oh, that's a big, popular township.
Yeah, no. Yeah. Yeah, I'm a full-on Kasi boy. People wrote songs about my township, and I remember when I was young and started getting interested in girls, Washela, and the girl is warming up, and then she says, where do you come from? You say, Wamash, she runs.
Why was that?
It was hectic. Wamash used to be a very dangerous township, and I can't believe I turned 53 this year. You know what I mean?
What were the dangers of it, so to speak?
It was just volatile, and the type of violence that you find in Khayelitsha today.
Sure.
Yeah, that just comes from people made to feel little, and they need an outlet. You know,
and this is one of the outlets.
Yes, it's the stabbings and the what. But what was amazing, though, and I spoke about tenacity earlier, is in that whole madness, and I've sat around tables with people and break bread with them and speak, and I realize immediately that they come from such opulence and wealth, these people. But when we talk, I realize amongst the table, I had the best childhood.
Really?
That didn't have the money?
With nothing.
But I had the best.
What informs that way of thinking?
It's just I just know I was a loved kid. I was just absolutely loved so much. There are moments that get me so emotional when I think about, and especially when I cook fish. There's something when I cook fish. My father worked very close to the harbor, and every month and he will bring a steenbras and a huge king clip. And my job as a little boy was to make a fire, and I knew how he wanted it. He wanted the embers of the fire, not a fire.
Yes.
And being the 10th of 12 kids, to have a moment to just sit with my father, just the two of us in silence.
Doing this.
Cooking.
Yeah.
I'll take it to my grave. And the cooking sense got so embedded in me, and I'm constantly wanting to feed people. I'm constantly wanting to I'm a guy, when this ends, I will say, David, we must eat.
Yes.
Find time
Let's dine.
to eat. And I'm that guy.
Wow. Interesting. It's where our worlds literally go into different directions.
Yeah.
My stove thinks that I'm dead. That's the relationship I have with my stove. No. My stove thinks this house has been sold it's been abandoned a long time ago. I have no skill, no talent, and what's worse, no interest. Why? My mom and I was raised by women.
Yeah.
My dad passed away when I was 3, so I have no reference of a guy in the house. As a result, the only exposure I have is women. And one thing women will do is cook for you as a little boy.
Yeah.
As a result, I have no reference of switching on a stove.
Yeah.
Or doing anything, unless it was an egg when I was in high school. When you come back from school, that's it.
Yeah.
And I always look at it and say, I think I missed something there. What's so appealing to you about the experience of not only cooking but feeding? Because the cook, the true pleasure of a cook is when they see people enjoying their meal.
I think it's coming from a big family, 6 boys, 6 girls.
Jeez.
I can never even eat a chocolate on my own.
Yeah.
I'm the guy, and you'll say no, and I said, but you'll give it to somebody. Just take it from me. And so that informs a very interesting journey about one that I think I've seen it sort of sipping into the way I tell a story. David, I tell you can ask actors I've worked with. I don't throw tantrums as a director.
At all. Even when something doesn't please you.
It's something that life never... I'm not a tantrum guy. Because I always believe... But I'm not. Yes. Wow. And I work with these young people. I was directing a lady who's now really... just one of the finest actors that I love so much. Her name is Zola Nombona.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And I was doing The Suit by Ken Themba. Zola, to this day, is the youngest actress in the world to have ever played
The Suit.
Matilda.
Yeah.
Matilda is always played by an older woman. But
why was the casting like that?
Because I love that question. Because earlier you're asking me about how we handle material, and we dealt with that. It's. I wanted the story of Ken Themba to be given another spin to it, because it's a story of betrayal.
Yes, of a cheating wife. Essentially,
cheating wife. Yeah. And what is genius about Ken Themba and frustrating about Ken Themba is that he never really tells us why she cheated. So in my head, I start playing with ideas of physiology. And I thought, if you've got an older guy married to a young woman, you're opening a door, she's at her prime.
For the possibility.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't see Abonga Twala, so I shared this with him, and Siyabonga says, I don't like where you're going, James, but let's go. And immediately it did something to the story that Matilda was much younger than and there was a scene that is towards the end of the play. I moved it to the beginning with a lot of humility and respect to Ken Themba. I opened the play with it, and I met a guy called Richard Forbes, who was never ever directed for theater, and he's got stuff at Nyrox and whatever. And I had a coffee with him in Greenside, and I said, this is a play that I'm doing. And he says to me, no, that's not my world. I said, go and read it. I'm interested in how you think. And he says to me, what do you see? Every time the suit is done, directors always put it in a shack, like it was written.
Okay.
And I was not interested in that. And I had an idea of the play pivoting around a French door.
Jeez.
So I got this very imposing French door because I believed there must have been a building with a French door in Sophiatown. You can't tell me there wasn't one.
Absolutely.
If you look at the architecture style of the time.
We have a lot of colonial influence.
Yeah. And to bring that aesthetic to the piece, for me, takes away that thing you said beautifully earlier. Have we done too much of a thing? I took away the shack. And wanted to give the actors the freedom to get into the story of this man who is an English major. I was working with actors where I said to them, sometimes when you deal with such palatable text, there are moments when you should act less and speak the right. Just speak.
Yes.
Be the vessel
of the message.
Yeah. And the Ken Thembas, the Eskem Patlele, I did the suitcase that has gone all over the world, an award-winning play by a short story by Eskem Patlele. So we did this, and I got Richard Forbes to then. Siabong is quite a tall, imposing guy, and I wanted to play with the suit taking over his life and this home, and we designed a suit that is as tall as Sia, that the wife carries
all the time.
There was a symbolism about her carrying, and then I got a dancer who then played the other Matilda. So there was two of them.
So the dancer was the depiction of the emotion.
Yes.
Of
and dressed exactly like Zola. And when Siabonga, as Philemon says, and he called and said, Matilda, Tilly, and two of them came, and we decided in which scene does he see this one or that.
Ooh.
And when he acts with this one and she brings the food, he eats and he looks around, there's no suit. He says to this one, where is our stay? Where is our visitor? And she's panicking and she exits.
So you see the emotion with the dance.
Yeah. As she exits, the other Matilda comes in with the suit.
Ooh.
And when that Matilda walks in with the suit, the language of the piece changes because then it's danced. And with the other Matilda, it's spoken. So that is what you do. For me, and I gain with humility, I never ever take an old play and do it like it's always
been done.
Can't. Then you need to just play a video of it.
Do you feel the pressure? Because, having observed your passion, do you feel the pressure to always try to be new? As you've indicated, always, because it's tricky. They say nothing is new anymore.
Yeah.
Everything has been told and done.
Yeah.
So much so that in the history of invention, there was a time when an American government said, well, we don't need the patent office anymore because we have come up with all the ideas that we'll ever come up with. This is 100 years ago.
Yeah.
You can imagine how many more ideas came about. Do you always feel the pressure to reinvent, to new yourself and new your work? Do you feel that that's something that a director always has a pressure to do?
Yeah, no, I definitely have that pressure. It's a pressure, it's an excitement. I just have a need to not repeat myself as a director. I dig deep, and I think it comes also from the fact that I'm a director who's an actor, and when you're walking in the waters and you feel a tidal rhythm here, the one yada is different, and so I always look for how else can we tell this story, and cognizant of the fact that even what maybe I come up with, there's directors around the world that they've touched on, but I haven't.
Yes. It's new to you.
It's untapped territory for me. And so, and with the idea also of just, I'm a freak also of how I use space as a director. And I think space informs my thinking around how I tell a story. And the other thing is I never ever want to have an audience that sits passively and watch a story. I want an audience in wonderment, an audience that keeps saying, what will happen next? That I want to be on a journey with them, with an audience.
So you observe the audience just as much as you observe the actors.
Yeah. I mean, there are people in my sector that will sort of like, maybe I drive them mad because there are things that I get very, I become a sort of a pragmatist about other things, and I've always said one of the worst things that have happened in the arts sector is people in the arts making work for each other. I make work for audiences.
That's an interesting
I am
way of
interested
saying
in
it.
a guy who's a butcher manager at ShopRite who calls his mother or a friend from school or his girlfriend and say, we're going to watch a play tonight.
Yes.
And I'm interested in what is the catchment to bring on. And sometimes I sit with artistic people and it all gets very arty and then I leave.
It's like
because I feel it's like we're sharing a private joke.
Interesting. You say it that way, and sorry to cut you, because say if you're a jazz musicians have a tendency of playing for other jazz musicians.
Yeah.
And that tends to be the challenge with that. And you're saying you could never do that. It's not how you make.
Yeah, it doesn't even have business, this thing. Because if I'm making theater,
the audience is
it's all
small.
12 of us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's a dick wielding contest.
Yeah, exactly.
Look at mine.
Yeah, exactly. And so when you make a work, and I've always said there is absolutely nothing, I've looked everywhere, maybe I haven't looked properly, that is elitist about the arts.
But yet there's a perception that everything about it is elitist.
Yeah, there's nothing elitist about the arts. It's and I've also had the pleasure of I was an artistic director for a festival that is run in Amsterdam.
Yeah.
And I was working with 19 theaters around Europe, with some of the most prolific theaters, and meeting amazing people who make theater. And I've been to funny towns in the UK, in Yorkshire, up there, towns like Hull and Lancaster and Derby, where it's salt of the earth, people who work in the docks.
Yes, he's a blue collar.
Yeah, completely, the whole town. And yet those people, when they're done work, they will put on a nice jean and a nice shirt and a jacket and go and watch a Shakespeare. Because you can. You don't have to be a banker to see it.
No.
You don't have to be a philosopher or a paleontologist and whatever. Everybody, if you ask me what is my utopia about the arts, I will tell you is that, and I hope I get to see it in my lifetime, the idea where South Africans will go to the theater so much that they don't have to tell their colleagues at work the next day that they went to the theater, because everybody goes.
Why do we have that perception of elitism in the arts? Clearly, it must come from somewhere.
Yeah, and that is why I'm saying I've looked. I don't know where it comes from.
But it's
and
there.
I irritate some people in my sector who think it is elite, and I just go, You know,
What's elite about this?
Yeah. How the way you absorb the story of written by Kesi Motsitsi or Block Morisane, you see, people absorb it the same way. So I don't know what special faculty that you have that other people don't have that will then mean that row 6, those are the elite ones. You know what I mean? And
the VVIPs.
Yes, theater needs to be made for people, because why I keep going on and on about theater, it's because earlier I spoke about memory, and now the thing that I'm mentioning is theater. There is no window to a nation story like theater.
Yeah.
You know,
interesting you say that, because I had Ndadesi Jake right here in the studio, and we spoke about the influence of theater on apartheid and breaking it down over time.
Yeah.
When others were fighting it from other countries, they were on exile, and there were those who were down here in South Africa who were keeping the story alive. Theater also did very well in keeping the fight against apartheid going. And he speaks very clearly about that. And you're saying, well, essentially that's the role theater plays.
Yeah. So if it's elite, then who are you speaking to?
Yeah.
A very small. You've just mentioned and this is absolutely from my heart, and I've told him, Bra Owen is one of the finest actors this country has ever produced. I watched him in a Nigerian play by Wole Soyinka called Death and the King's Horseman. He was with Peter Sepuma, Nomhle Nkonyeni, Michael McCabe, Mike Mvelase, Samson Kumalo, Sputlas Bohodi. It was a killer cast.
Wow.
I had a girlfriend.
Star-studded.
Yeah, yes. I was living in Durban. I had a girlfriend who was studying at Wits. She was doing BCom in accounting, and my girlfriend was so pissed off with me because I spent the whole weekend watching that play.
You went over and over.
Yeah, and then took a bus and went back to. I didn't even drive at that.
Also, Vagasha Mario PC.
She's like, you know,
what happened to us?
Yeah, and I said, no, we will do a matinee and then we'll go and I'll take you out for lunch and whatever. But it is when you watch such acting from Bra Owen, and today when I meet I've just worked with a young guy called Katlego Chale from Pretoria. Oh my God. And a guy called Ntlagani Pomanqele. Unbelievable. And a young boyki who grew up in Grafrenit. His name is Malo Minar. And well read. They've studied. One is Stellenbosch, one is UKZN, one is UP, and he's doing his PhD now. But they have a thing that is very rare with young actors. Just a need to act and a need to tell a story and a need to tell it right.
So the going back to Bra Owen and bringing it now, because you've done that, you said the brilliance of Abu Grootman is still found in these youngsters.
Yeah.
So the talent is not going away.
It's not going away. There are special young actors. I mean, today it's very easy for people to be on television because they have a certain type of hair.
Shade of skin.
Yes.
Or Baba Tweezy.
Yes. You know, and or sometimes for gymming, guy.
Yeah, of course. Of course.
No, I was shooting a thing and we were about to shoot a very emotional scene, and next to me was an actor standing in front of a mirror going and I'm like, what
is pumping his muscles?
Yes.
So they show on screen.
Yeah. I'm like, what is this? And when we get to shoot, he doesn't even know his line.
But pleasing our muscle.
Yeah.
So you also get that.
You get that. But there are special young actors, and I am so blessed that a lot of them I've worked with them.
Yeah.
It's the special young actors who understand that acting is not an extension of your coolness. It's got nothing to do with this. It's Spani.
Yeah.
You know, and there is something very pure and that sometimes goes into a naive space when you need to act very well. There are moments when you do research on a story, but there are moments when you need to put down the knowledge you know and take a story from here and put it in a lift and press ground floor or basement and bring it here and just feel it.
Wow.
And you can see when you direct actors, there's a moment when those special actors start shifting gear and you know that they're not thinking about it anymore. They're feeling it.
That I guess that's talent.
Yeah, no, that's...
When you get to that moment where you don't even know what's happening.
Yeah.
It's happening.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's no longer about you now.
Yeah.
Where does that come from? Because musicians always say they know when the message is not from them. It's from somewhere else. Is it the same with telling a story?
Completely. It is. It's people who know me very well, David, they'll tell you, James constantly using the word humility. There has to be a humility in how you approach a story. You could never be bigger than a story.
Yeah.
If you're bigger than a story, there's a problem. I spoke earlier about serving the writer, about being the vessel for the writing, and the other part is how you get into the story and just be a biography in the story, like a pawn, and allow yourself to be taken by the story.
That's it.
And to other people, it might sound like, somebody will go, oh God, he's being so pretentious now, very arty. Yes. But it is the truth. You get it. I've listened to interviews with Dr. Khumalo, who I've listened to about John Mweti, about people like Harris Cho, who are like the finest people who played soccer in this country, where they would say there were moments when they were in a final and there was a time when they were not aware of the crowd and of the crowd screaming. They just chased the ball.
And they knew where to take it.
And that was the brief.
Yeah.
Find the ball. When you have it, keep it.
It's the same with writing.
Yeah.
It's the same with directing. And it's definitely the same with acting.
Yes. It's the same. It's the same when you've raised somebody. There are moments when I've burst into tears. I've got two big boys now. But when you have a little person like this, who's walking and you can see August style, they just walking and at some point they come to you and plant a wet kiss and then leave.
Move on.
And they're so young, they don't have a faculty to play games with our kids, Papa, who's gonna give me money to go. They just feel like they walk past you and it's the love that they... So there is just something sometimes that is just another example I'll make. By my first sort of serious girlfriend that I had, I was in Durban and it was like quite serious. And one day the L word came out of me.
Yes,
and I said
unplanned.
To her, and I said to her, "I love you." And she turned around and she said to me, "Unpack that." I said, sorry? She said, "Unpack that." I said, well, I didn't think about it. I felt it.
It's a thesis.
And she says, "Oh, no, don't give me that," and whatever. And immediately I knew that could never be the type of girl that, because I really didn't have a plan for it.
Yes.
I just felt it.
Wow. And so acting, music writing, there's a lot of that in it.
Yeah.
Wow.
And you hear people who are like genius of music who will talk. I mean, I remember I saw an interview with Quincy Jones, who in my view is a god, just an absolute god. And they were interviewing him, and then somebody asked him about one of my favorite artists. This artist I'm going to tell you about. I've got every album they've ever made, and this artist
Who's
is
that?
Prince.
Oh, wow, of course.
Genius of note.
Of course, yes.
And they asked Quincy Jones about Prince. I mean, who has Quincy Jones worked with? Sarah Vaughan, Ella Fitzgerald, Ray Charles,
Frank Sinatra.
You can just count the people. And he says, without a breath, he says, when he was asked, who do you think is just making amazing things? And he said, Prince is making today what all of us will be making in 5 years' time. Quincy Jones said this.
He's ahead of himself.
I fell off my chair.
Yeah.
This is a God saying that guy's a God. It's the humility that tells you we are in a collaborative space.
That's it.
And it's something I have always kept, and is the understanding that it is so daunting to approach a work
Is it daunting?
It is
how daunting. Actually, the question is how
so
daunting
that I'm insomniac when I start to play. I can't sleep.
Ooh.
I absolutely can't sleep because I immerse myself so much and get consumed by the story because I'm making it for. I'm very cognizant that at such difficult times in life, some woman is going to take her best friend and her sister and pay 190 rands to go and watch a play. They can't pay for rubbish.
Well said.
Yeah. When we fail, we must fail with broken backs. But I've seen people very nonchalant about a play and just think, oh no, we're not making it for an audience. No, yes, we are.
We're making it for our theater friends.
Yeah. You design the jerseys, they're not for yourself.
No.
You want to sell them. And I love the idea of audiences that come back.
Yeah. And want to see it again.
Yes. So the work you make is the catchment of that constituency that you want to bring to the theater. Not once. They must come back. And when they feel they've seen that one enough, they look at the walls and something
what else
tickles their curiosity and go, oh, we must come see that. We gotta, because audiences are so fickle.
Of course.
And you are constantly wooing and like this to audiences. And that is why cool people in the arts, I'm scared of them. Because I think they know something I don't know. Because for me, it's difficult to be in the arts.
Yeah.
And when I meet these people who are cool, I respect their coolness, but it must just not be around.
Not true.
Because where I am, it's nerve city. And
what is the problem with coolness? And I say this, well, let me describe my world slightly for a second. Radio has the same challenge. We do two things we need to achieve on radio. We have to keep you listening. We have to get you. Once we caught you, we have to keep you.
Yeah.
That's hard. It's hard to get you to look because, and this is exactly what you said, it's so fickle. It's easy to change.
Yeah.
In the car.
Yeah.
To change the radio. You're gone.
Yeah.
And you're working so hard to keep this going, and this person just changed you.
Yeah.
Is to hold you and keep you long.
Yeah.
And what has allowed me to do it with relative ease, as people say, it's years of practice, is that I struggle with coolness.
Yeah.
For me, it's not about the cool part. I still get surprised when people recognize me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I said, oh, I listen to you on radio. It's like, I forget this job I do comes with that.
Yeah.
And it brings me to this. I don't like coolness. But it doesn't bother me. I would watch it and move on. What is it about it for you in the theater space and in the acting world? Because it makes you famous. It makes you cool. But what is it that bothers you about coolness in that regard?
It's when it's coolness with no output. Just cool.
I'd rather be cool and you have something to offer.
Yes. And I've been around cool people. I mean, Prayu is one of the coolest people I've ever met.
Absolutely.
Prayu is a cucumber.
Yeah.
He's so cool. And
he doesn't even try.
No, he doesn't try, Prayu.
Yeah.
And but there was something almost childlike about Prayu. I would sit and sing something, and a lot of people didn't know that Prayu played piano. I would sing something, and he used to call me Jamuzu because in Liberia, James is Jamuzu.
Oh,
yeah.
He likes giving people nicknames.
Yeah, Jamuzu. And I said, all right. And I would sing something. There was a time in my life where I did a lot of singing, and I would sing something for Prayu, and Prayu would start tinkling on chords and whatever, and we there's a spontaneity. We make something.
Yeah.
Now that's cool. But the cool of I want to be seen. I'm James. I have no time for that stuff. I absolutely have no time.
It brings nothing to the table.
Yes, and that is why people who know me very well, I tend to be such a hoarder of my space because I just have that sense of I need to pitch what I do more than who I am.
That's it.
To yes. Yeah. So it's that. I mean, yeah.
It doesn't play a
Kenneth, of course, he's very cool. He's
Absolutely.
a cool boy. And I love when I see Kenneth and but I've been blessed to see Kenneth work. When Kenneth works, that funny Kenneth is not in the room.
Wow.
He's so meticulous about the work. So it's don't just be cool because
for the sake of it. Let's talk about the ultimate cool guy, HUGH. You were lucky to have worked with him.
Yeah.
But I hear the story of how it happened.
Yeah.
It's just as amazing as any.
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
So I'm working on a production called Thirst. I wrote a piece about water.
Okay.
Called Thirst that we did at the market, and so I've written it. It's because I was just fascinated with what is coming. The big frontier in the world. It's water.
Yes, the Eastern Cape is going through a challenge now.
Yeah. And I wanted to hide from the audience where the story is set, and I had an outlet. The outlet is of the. I love walking. And I was walking around Rosebank, and I saw on a corner Jellicoe where the Hyatt is.
And
Oxford. Yeah, I saw a person who lives in the streets, dressed in plastic rubbish bags, and took them and made sort of shoes in them, a mad guy, mad character, and he was working with a plant, and there was something so soft about him holding this plant. Where did he get this plant? But anyway, that kicked me off. I used that as the character that takes us to a yesteryear world of a falling star, and a certain time and a certain epoch and about water. So the story had that sense that it was like a bit of a period piece. And what I did with my love of the continent, the story kept moving, and I worked with Gregory Makoma and he choreographed it, and there'll be moments when it moves and suddenly the cast is speaking Swahili and it's around Kenya. The story went all the way where these people finally find water. We had the Paratia Natia, which is it was in India by the time, and I had this traveling tale, and the market played to unbelievable houses. And met a French guy who composes hip hop, and I didn't want to have the most obvious thing would have been to put sort of African, and I got this hip hop soundtrack that went all the way throughout the piece. And so what I didn't know that this man called HUGH MASEKELA watched this thing. So my phone rings.
He was in the audience one of the days.
And I've never met him. I've got his music, but I've never met him. My phone rings, is a number I don't know. And I go, hello, and it's a voice I don't know. And the voice says, hey, Mfanagit. And I said, who's this? And it says, it's you. And I said, sorry? He says, it's you, it's MASEKELA. How are you, James? And I said, fine. And by you, I remember we went to have a meal at a restaurant called La Cucina del Ciro. And that's the beginning of me meeting with Prayu. And I went to meet him, and I was thinking, why does he want to meet me? And what he said, Prayu, he says, hey, Mfanagit, I want us to work together.
Whoa. With those words, magical.
Now it's falling off the chair time. It's like I must say this. And I said,
imagine if he said no. Imagine if he said, wow.
And so I said, hey, Prayu, anytime, and 2 weeks later, Prayu invites me to a house in Randburg where a friend of his that he knew, Copra Sanza, we sat in this, and I was hearing music, beautiful music. And he says, come meet these singers. And Prayu had been working with these singers, arranging, he was like a mad arranger, Prayu, arranging this music. And he said, I've brought you here, and I've asked these guys to sing for you, and then I want you to tell me what you think.
Yeah.
And I listened to these singers cut a long story short, Prayu and I created a musical called Songs of Migration that went all around
know
the
it
world.
well, yes.
Yeah, and it came from that. And he said to me, "Hey, plus to James Retoja."
Yes, I know. He's that kind of guy.
Yes, that kind of guy. And, Ritsula Dijo, and we sit and they pop some wines, and I'm sitting and I look at how he still has such a love for creating work, Prayu.
Yeah.
And when somebody else with his journey would have been this cool guy, he wasn't.
He still wanted to create.
He's still looking. And in the touring with him, we had to book hotels that a lot of them, Prayu had stayed in them before. And people knew him. He had to get a certain room in a certain area because Prayu always had to practice a horn. And one day I asked him and I said, Prayu, you do this every day? And he says, Panagit, for 55 years, I have practiced my horn for 4 hours I've never missed a day. And then he says a banger, and he says, and I'm just getting to understand this instrument.
And at that time, he's one of the world's biggest stars.
Yeah.
And he's saying he's only understanding it now.
Yeah. You know what I mean? And that is humility around the work that is absolutely rare to find.
And no coolness. He wasn't putting it up.
Yeah.
It was just there.
Yeah. It's just, and you just got a sense as we taught, and then I picked up a work by a guy called George C. Wolfe. That you just knew everybody. And the things that I was writing about the 50s, I will write them, and Prayu leave them. And I will say, Prayu, what do you think? And he will go, I'm fine. Yeah, all right.
That's it. I remember
that. Hey, Chamuzu. And he will say like this. And I was always like this with him. And I realized that Badimo Baka and Mudimo gave me such a gift to be around somebody who said to me, you will not have an ego, James.
No.
You will not,
So there's a lot learned from that experience.
Yeah, completely. And the one time, Prayu, I lost my toys with Prayu at a restaurant. I flipped.
What was the story? What did he do?
Yeah, and I flipped, and he laughed at me. And the more he laughed at me, I flipped more. and I realized every time we went out, Prayu always paid.
Oh.
And when I go, I know you can and whatever. And then it was starting to really irk me. And one day I said to him, hey, Prayu, I don't like this thing. We were sitting in a place in Ilova. And he said, what is it you don't like? And I said, you must, I'm a man, Prayu. Allow me to pay. You always
I'm
pay.
a man, I like that.
You know what I mean? And he could see that I'm bubbling up. I said, but why won't you let me pay? And he's laughing. And I said, what is so funny? He then says to me, the words you're saying, James, I said them to somebody one day. And I said, who? He said, Miles.
Miles Davis.
Yeah. And I said, what do you mean? He said, Miles did exactly what I've been doing to you, to me. And when I asked him one day, he says, so I can keep you humble, you. So I said, you're keeping me humble. He says, yeah, so that you know you owe me something.
I like that.
It was just like so amazing to write to and I remember the one Sunday I told my lady just before I went to bed, I said, I just don't know what to do. She said, what do you mean? I said to her, do you realize tomorrow morning I start directing MASEKELA and Sibongile Khumalo? How do I start directing those people? Wow. And the generosity they had for me and the process. And then Prayu, we went on to work on. Prayu worked as a musical director in a couple of things I got to do. Some of them were American work.
What?
The George C. Wolfe one was a story which was a satire on slavery. And we just collaborated. We just worked, and I got advice from him. And the one time I was asked to write and direct the 100 Years of the ANC, the centenary, that show that was on television. I wrote and directed it. And Prayu was, I don't know how many times he didn't work on it, but he was such a well for me. And I would say, Prayu, I'm in the 1940s. This is what you do. And he will say, hey, hey, Mfanakit, you want to pull some Mohamapelo there, Mohapelo, and do this. And just, he was an encyclopedia.
I was about to say that one thing that stands out about Brahiu having listened to so much of his material is that he knew a lot and his memory was quite clean, literally throughout his life.
Yeah.
Where, as us, long-term memories naturally fades with time.
Yeah.
But he seemed to have absolutely. It just stayed and never left.
Yeah.
It actually speaks to your character as well, your personality. You have done so much work. I remember in preparation for this chat, I said, I don't even know where to start.
Yeah.
You're not an old man. But your work almost says you lived 100 years.
Thanks.
You've done so much, and your memory of it. And I'm learning this now.
Yeah.
It's so clear.
Yeah.
You know what it was, who was doing what, the cast, word for word, their names.
Man, I started acting on the 8th of January 1989 when I joined a company called The Loft in Durban.
Yeah.
The first day, I just thought, this is heaven.
Wow.
And I was with people I've never met in my life. And we had an artistic director called Nicholas Allen Bogan, a genius of a man. This is apartheid years. And I'm in a company, there's 30 of us, 26 whites and 4 blacks. And, and I met a brother whose memory I will take to my grave, a guy called Lindelani Teles. Who years later wrote off a beautiful jack that I had. And we just knew as the 4 black actors that you just can't be bad in anything you do. When you're working with 26 white people.
I was about to say, it was just the type of pressure that we continue to have even now.
Yeah.
That you just can't.
We can't be bad.
Mess this up.
Yeah.
Yes.
And 2 years later, this engineer walks in and she says, my name is Ntati Mushesh. I met Ntati and I, we've known each other since we were
that long.
Yeah, and she came, Ntati, in a company I used to take her. We used to go and watch jazz with Ntati and that amazing laughter that she has. But I found a sister who also just wanted to act and there's a lot that I do now that I realized that I had then when I was young, the directing, the writing, that I was always a prober of things and questioning, why is it like this? And
how do we improve it?
And so the type of work that one was doing, because I'm a kind of guy, I finished my matric, I never went to university. Finished my matric and I auditioned for The Loft. I got into The Loft and straight away it was like deep end and it's something to this day, David, that I must say, every year I keep saying, like, I want to do this RPL now, this recognition of prior learning. I'm looking at what we, either UCT or UKZN to do it there. My not studying has never been an impediment for me.
No,
it's never. But I'm not going to sit here and glorify not studying.
Of course,
you know what I mean. But because then I worked with a thing that every time I was in a room, the people who were in a room knew more than me, and I needed to know what they know. I was that guy.
Yeah.
What they know.
You would write notes of things that you don't know.
Yeah. And
I still do that. Yeah.
And ask questions.
Yeah.
The coolness that I was talking about is the people who are even shy to say, King to it.
Yes.
And you discover, 3 weeks later, that they don't know it. And it's very embarrassing.
And they carry on like they know it.
Because they're cool. They're putting on an act.
Jeez.
I just go and find out. And that, I think, has one's journey has been defined by that curiosity that I still have to this day, that I will take to my grave. And I have the humility. I mentor a lot of young people. I'm serving my last week at the Market Theatre, and I'm leaving the market and I'm starting a new journey. And I look back at it and realize that in the 9 years, I mentored 45 young directors who come from all sorts of universities. And I then also, my space of humility, realized that some of the young people I met where I was meant to be a mentor to them, I then realized that I have a lot to learn from the mentee.
As there as well.
And it became a thing like this that is just so beautiful. And some of those young people I still call today and said, should we have a supper? Should we go and have a glass of wine?
Let's hang out.
I've found little sisters in them.
Yeah.
I don't have a daughter, and some of them are my daughters. And I've, I never had a younger brother. Some of them are the younger brother. And we sit with them, and there's no age thing. There's a heart thing.
That's amazing.
What other stories can we tell? And as my passion for the continental content, I've been talking to a director called Clive Matibe, who's just such a beautiful young director that I've got him to direct a play that is going to be the first play in the history of this country set in the Congo DRC about the atrocities that happened to women during war.
Yes.
And this is biblical. This is as old as the hills. When a victor starts to smell victory, the first thing that happens is the raping of women.
Of course.
It has happened all over the world.
Yes.
We're doing this piece, and you'll see it with a star-studded cast, like amazing actors. But to have this banter with Clive and talk about the work and talk, he's a fine storyteller. He is never a young Clive. He's Clive, the director. We both direct.
So they stop being mentors.
Yeah.
And they become peers.
Yeah.
And colleagues.
Yeah.
And or mentees.
Mentees,
yes. They move from Lintwana
to Prayak.
Exactly.
And we work together, and there are people also that when I'm directing a play that I will call and say, I've blocked the first 20 minutes, come and have a look. Tell me what you think.
Yes.
Without that, then I don't know what else I would have.
So you're aware that you haven't arrived yet.
Yeah,
that's it.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
You arriving where?
That's
you know what I mean?
Thing, yeah.
And you just to be at the helm in one of the most prolific theaters in the world, the market was one of the most difficult things I've ever done.
And you've done it for 9 years.
For 9 years. And I'm leaving it now. I'm going into another bigger journey also that I've been blessed by life to go and be the new artistic director of the Joburg Theatres, to be responsible for curating 10 spaces.
It's my favorite theatre, for the record. Yeah. I'm nothing against the market theatre. I just love the Joburg Theatre.
Yeah.
I love the building.
Yeah.
I want to make so much money that I own my own theatre.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
I just love those spaces. I've been lucky to have done maybe 20 shows on the Nelson Mandela stage, that theatre. And I fall in love with it every time I work there. Wow. For me, these are music concerts. Yeah. And every time I'm there, it's like, this is such an amazing building. I'm one of those kids that want to walk around the building and see corners and how the lights are rigged. Yeah. I'm one of those. And I fall in love with the rooms, the building, the genius. And we haven't built a theater in the last 27 years of our democracy. And I think that's a shame. That South Africa has not built a theatre of those standards. Why do you think that is? Is there an appreciation or maybe lack of appreciation by the powers that be of this space?
Man, it's and I'm not one to not have an answer, but really it's just because it baffles me. When you are just around sort of such a lack of interest, and yet there are people who've done things. I mean, obviously, the Soweto Theatre is the one that has been built. You know what I mean? And Bob Masondo, that legacy of his, and during the time of his tenure, where he absolutely just went out of his way and said, "We will gift," and I have a very special relationship with that theatre also, because when Paul Mashatile became the Minister of Arts and Culture and the theatre was opening, and I got a phone call, and and I spoke to this lady, and the next thing I discovered that my production of the suitcase, the Eskem Patlele story that I adapted, was chosen as the first play to open the Soweto Theatre.
Wow.
Yeah.
So now the history of that place has you as the first guy.
Yeah, I opened it. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And at the time I'm running a company with you, MASEKELA called Sibo Chama. And you and I did the first 3 productions that opened the Soweto Theatre. It was the Suitcase, and it was Ngcobo, and a piece by Pesim Twa called Bopa.
Jeez.
And it was so humbling. I mean, the very few people who tell you that they opened the theater.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yes, I was the first guy to see something here.
Yeah,
amazing.
Yeah, and I remember standing up there and just looking at the multitudes of people coming to see and thinking to myself, I hope they like this. It's the best thing. And people are, if it's not right, people would say, no, I'm not going back there again.
No, yes. And they kept on coming.
Yeah. And so to answer you, I have met some amazing people who are officials in the art space, and others where you wonder why they're there and whatever, and the ones that are excited about the space, they're the ones that excite you, and you get to work. And one has been blessed to do such interesting things. I mean, I got to direct what was the first production attached to an inauguration of a president in the country, when President Cyril Ramaphosa was inaugurated.
You directed that.
Yeah.
Interesting. I had a tiny little role in it, very small.
Yeah.
We produced a TV commercial for City of Tshwane that flighted only during the inauguration.
Yeah.
So it's a small role, but it's there.
Yeah, it's things we did, brother.
It's there because the City of Tshwane said we are the host city, and we want people to know that. And the tourism division of the city said, let's produce something. Let's brand the city. As people are driving in from all over the world, they see that this is a nice and vibrant city. And we branded the city and also played a TV commercial that played on ETV. It is, I guess it's however small the role is, it's a...
Yeah. And one of these things that I knew in the country that's so beautiful that people from the tourism sector sort of understands that we need to gloat about our cities. And they say, Machabela, come and do this. Because we lack gloating.
That's it.
And
it's a common theme in this recording.
Yeah.
That about
really? Yeah.
I see.
We don't, in fact. I mean, I realize there's something I look at all the time with envy that Nigerians have done. It's almost like Fela Kuti never died.
Yeah. He's still there.
It's unbelievable what
Why
Nigerians...
are we like that, in your opinion? Why, Tina, South Africans are not... We don't stand tall on top of a mountain and say, look at me.
Yeah. And we type of people. We suddenly think, so I'll tell you as I answer you, every morning in Washington, D.C., I went to the concierge at the hotel, a hotel, beautiful hotel next to the White House called the State Plaza, where I was staying, and meet Brayu. And we took a walk for 2.5 or 3 hours. Pennsylvania Avenue is one of the longest streets in America. And we will walk with Brayu, and in the walks chat about the day and what we're doing and da-da-da. And sometimes in the walking, we each have a card and we go to a place called Wholesome Foods, because Brayu loves cooking, and he will say to me, we cook for everybody, and he will say, I'll make shrimp, James. And you see his years of living in America.
Yes.
And I make a mean mussel pot. Mean mussel pot with lemongrass and tarragon and wine and garlic and a little bit of butter and just let this thing steam so we we go for a walk, and when we finished the walk, we were going to another place. I said to Prayu, I wanted a cappuccino, and he says, no, I'll take you in New Washington DC very well. He says, there's another place. We go to a place where the Nixon Watergate thing happened, and so there's a coffee, and I said, Prayu, and he says, yeah, all right. Only as I crossed the road to go and get the coffee, there's 4 young African American lighties. They're sort of like 17, 18, and they're cool in the corner. It's happening, and so I pretend like Prayu and I were lost, and I'm fooling around with them, and I talk, and then at some point I said to these young brothers, I said to them, "Do you know who Thelonious Monk is?" And they looked at each other and they went, "Pianist." David, I was blown out of my mind.
That they know?
That this kid was 17, 18, new Monk.
Yeah.
Monk is way back
Yeah.
there. You look at the pianists, from Art Tatum to Monk to Oscar Peterson to Ahmad Jamal, these giants of, and these. So I'm answering your question with a story because we've got kids who don't know who Miriam Makeba is.
No.
And
It's our fault.
kids who don't know who you know what Vincent Manswe has done for Sepedi, music and language in Paris. He blows the French. They don't know what's going on. They walk around going, what is this?
And it is paid.
What is this? And I'm gonna stage a pete and nopkiri and uzo music gamalombo and the guitar and the thing. And he lives in France, and he has come as a baby boy and a baby man.
And he's never lost it.
It's amazing. It's just amazing. And we have kids that we birth and they do well at school, and at some point they get scholarships and they find themselves sitting in a pub in London, and they're studying maybe at the London School of Economics, and they're sitting with some Greek young man called Yanni and a Jewish one and a Scottish one and an Irish one, and the memory that these ones come up with is so beautiful. And when one of them says to one of our
Tell
own,
us.
what are 5 things that make you South Africans? They can't say it. It's sad. It is sad.
It is. I think it's us.
Yeah.
It's the generation before them.
Yeah. Because we say kimoralo. And it's not, I am such a, one of the things I am in life that I'm not shy, because it defines who I am. I'm such a proud Zulu man. I am so proud.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's so many beautiful things that have been passed on to me. And I have a need to share it with my sons, And
have you done that?
I have blind.
Yeah.
And I've got sons who write SMSs to me in
Zulu.
straight,
Beginning to end.
Yeah, who've been going to fancy schools. They just know. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And it's not accentwa. They just, we have a vibe that is so beautiful.
I guess it speaks to how it's the parents that have to keep it going.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, it's lost.
Yeah.
I had Java sitting on that very chair, and he speaks of the importance of keeping it going.
Yeah.
The culture, if we lose it, we lose a lot.
We lose a lot.
A lot more than just language.
Yeah.
There's so much inside who we are as our Africans. That if we lose one language, if we lose culture, if we lose identity, we've lost the battle.
Yeah. There are people I've met who spent, there's a woman I've just gotten to know. She spent 30 years living in the UK.
South African, obviously.
South African.
Yeah.
Was suit. Was so to that some kids who grew up in this country don't speak.
And she hasn't been here. She hasn't lived here.
Years.
What?
She's married to a beautiful Nigerian guy. They've got 2 daughters, and she's and when she sees me, she says, "Abu James," and she goes, "Jack," and she sounds like Utswa Butabute or Leribe or Roma, and arrived yesterday.
Incredible.
And I said,
clearly it should be the same with the kids.
yeah. And I said to her, how did you do this? And she said, I guess it's my mother and my love of Sesotho is my language. There was no way I was going. I mean, and how was HUGH? You get that clear Norfolk Kent accent.
Jeez. She's absorbed it as well. Yes.
British. And with this. So what am I saying? It's doable. You know, I know Afrikaans people who raised their kids in exile who came back with perfect
Afrikaans. Yeah.
So
interesting.
Where do we fail?
It still stands out for me when I go to a shop, and there's even yesterday evening, I went to a shop up the road, and this Afrikaner couple, they're speaking Afrikaans, beginning to end. And interesting, there's a black couple. They're speaking in English, beginning to end. And I'm thinking, oh hell, we are living a very Eurocentric life in Africa, and yet the very Europeans are speaking their language in our country, and we don't speak our language in our country.
Yeah, and if you spend time in Europe, you don't realize Europe is a home of multilingualism. And
absolutely,
people speak languages.
Yeah,
in Europe, you'll find English people who have gone out of their way to learn Spanish because they love going to places like Sevilla, or who've learned French because they love going to the south of France, Avignon, and they speak it, and they jump on a Eurostar and get to France and whatever, and people just speak.
I think we absorbed a lot of American culture because Americans have this horrible thing of knowing only one language. Yeah. Even that language, they don't even speak it well. And I think that's we've absorbed that, and we're making it our own, because you have kids today who don't speak any other language but English. Yeah. And American television English, which is very different. And that's a loss though, eh?
Yeah. And in the last 9 years I've spent at the market, I've done the Black History Month productions.
Yeah.
And I've spoken to these young people who have come with their hipness and whatever. It's lovely. They come to watch the work. And then they said to me, but James, this accent that they're using, who worked with them? All this place.
What accent is that?
I've been helped by African Americans who live in Joburg. Because when we touch this place, I mean, the Louisiana accent is probably the most difficult accent.
It's quite distinct, yes.
You know, I was doing a play called The Brothers' Size, written by Terrell, who wrote that Oscar-winning film Moonlight.
Okay.
Doing this story. And I read the play, and it was interesting that the characters in the play, it's set in America today, the characters in the play have Nigerian names. Ogun, Oshuzi, Legba.
Yeah.
These are the Orishas, the Nigerian gods. So this cosmology is in this play, and I read it, and it just, my curiosity goes crazy. and I just think, I have to direct this play before I die.
Yes.
I have to. And then I sat with a lady called Yewande James, who was from Chicago, and she moved to South Africa. And you'll see where I'm going. And she met the actors through Zoom, listened to them, and she just said, I just want to hear them playing with American accent. And so they play their American accent that they know. And she said, oh, great. Okay. And she says, you're not going to sound like that in this play.
Oh.
At all.
Jeez.
Yeah, she says, what you have as that accent you have, I don't know what it is. It's not African American. She says, but you're not going to sound.
Yeah.
This place in Louisiana, you will sound like people from Louisiana. And the one actor said, no, but I've got the Southern, and did it. And she said, yeah, cool, but it's not Louisiana. And so I love the idea of somebody who brings the authenticity in a rehearsal room and make the work richer. And so the two brothers have dreams, these hectic dreams in the play, and I'm asking myself, how do I handle these dreams?
How do you bring them to
a director to make them exciting? And the next thing, I called the other Yewande Omotosho, Akin Omotosho's sister.
Okay.
I called her and I said, my sister, I need your help. And she said, what? I sent her the script. She read, and I said, in those dreams, because there's an idea of a departed mother in the play, I want these dreams to be so deep of these guys who live in Louisiana today that when they dream, they hear Yoruba.
Ooh.
It takes them back. We're going back to transatlantic slave trade. We're going back to Harriet Tubman. We're going back to the Underground Railroad
Jeez.
and whatever. And we had Nigerians who came to watch the play, and they will walk out of the play and go like that because they had their language in an American play.
Yes.
And I got a young guy who did the talking drum thing, and this guy's a hip hopper who composed this hip hop music. And I'm driving with my son. We just come back from Pretoria. And so I said to him, no, he can play what he wants to play, and then he puts his thing.
Yes.
And I hear a song by Kendrick Lamar called "Sing a Song for Me," and whatever. So why I'm telling you all of this is you have to be so delusional to think you're gonna make work on your own.
It's not possible.
I don't get people like that.
Yeah,
it's beyond an ego for me.
That's true.
And I've been blessed, all the way. But just people's voices, when you reach out, people say, "Hey, James, have you thought?" and whatever. So whatever that I've done,
it broadens your work.
I've not done it alone.
Jeez. Here's something. It's a small detour, and allow me. You win an award very recently.
Yeah.
For a Netflix thing.
Yeah, for acting, yeah.
Yes.
Queen song.
It's a Netflix thing. Yeah. And yet it's a relatively small role.
Yeah.
It's not the biggest in the entire show.
Yeah.
Were you taken by surprise by that at all?
Yeah. I was, first of all, Kagiso Lediga, who I have so much respect for.
Yeah.
He calls me and he says, we must meet, and we met in Parkview, we chat, and he says to me, "I've written a role for you."
Yes.
I said, "Where is this role?"
Yeah.
He says, "It's in this new thing. It was the first thing produced by Netflix."
That's it, South Africa, yeah.
Yeah, and I said,
2019.
Yeah. And I said, right, let's go. And we read it. The next thing, I'm in a room with Pel Tusi, with Chaba Murajela, with Kate Lickrich, with Van Asher and Armugan, with Van Viren, and these actors I absolutely love. And the magic that happened is I take off my director's hat and my artistic director's hat. I leave it in the car.
Yes.
And I sit, and Debucho is directing me, and I'm playing this corrupt president.
Yes.
And I had fun.
It shows.
I had such fun.
It shows.
Man, there was in the piece. I just had such an amazing and so I was telling Debu Kagiso then when it was announced that I've won it, and I said, "This is my 4th SAFTA award, and I've never been to the SAFTA."
Not once.
I've never been.
Is there a reason you haven't been?
I've always been working.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
So you didn't attend this one as well?
The very first SAFTAs that happened in South Africa, first one.
Yeah.
I'd been working so hectically that I took a lady in my life to Stellenbosch. We just went to and so I called Joe Mafela and I said, "Hey, Joe, if I get it, you'll get it for me." And he says, "I know, sharp. And I was also nominated for what maybe is my most favorite TV work I've ever done.
What's that?
As an actor, a piece called Hard Copy.
Yes, I know that.
Yeah, no, that
a different time, eh?
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
Hard Copy was just. Yeah, it was. It was just a gift, not for me, for all the actors were in that series showed this country that South Africa can make TV of another level.
Absolutely,
absolutely.
Well, when we watch it and say it's of international level, we see ourselves, we benchmark ourselves like that.
It was an amazing piece with an unbelievable cast that was there. So. Joe calls me and at 11 o'clock and he says, "Oh, James, Joe's like this." He says, "Hey, James, are we told you come fetch it at Mars?" And then Tim Green calls me, and then so in the very first SAFTAs, I won Best Actor in a comedy and in a drama.
In a drama.
Yeah.
Yes. And now,
a,
what do we call this new one? The one you won.
Yeah. So this one was best supporting.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
In an action series.
Yeah, it's crazy,
Wow.
And
I like the role you play in this one. It's there's a scene where they bend the two guys.
Yeah.
And I like how you're pleading. It's such it's so simple yet so amazingly convincing. Yeah. Come on, guys, let's talk, man.
Yeah.
Let's you can't be doing this. I love the way the portrayal. I literally rewinded a few times just to see that again. It's amazing.
He's a guy who thinks he can pay for
anything. Yeah, let's talk, guys.
And I remember also around a horror cafe in town, and we were shooting, and there were drones and there were cameras like this. There's a scene we shot where I'm driving with an entourage, and the next thing there's a rubbish
truck,
and it stops in front, and these guys pull out AKs and they're shooting everywhere. And Kagiso just wanted just a close up of this president, this powerful guy, crying in the car. And he's such a special director, Kagiso, because he just said to me, I don't want us to rehearse it, James.
No.
Just when you're ready, just tell me.
Yeah.
And we just shot it.
Jeez. I guess you need that from a director.
Yeah,
you need that a director who will trust that you will do your best.
Yeah,
to portray the scene.
Yeah,
What type of director are you?
I'm a type of director who knows one thing first, that being a director is not about teaching actors how to act. If you're teaching them, they shouldn't be in that room. They should be in another room.
Where they should be at school.
Yeah, exactly. Where teaching happens. And I'm a director also that understands that as much as I can concoct all sorts of ideas to make something, actors have a gut that tells them where to place a story. So you need to direct an actor and lead them to that feeling. Because only them can
get there
to that feeling, which is their feeling. And I've directed actors who have said to me, H. James, and I go, what is it? And they go, James, I'm not feeling this. And I go, what are you feeling? They go, I don't know what I'm feeling. And I said, let's find something you're going to feel. Some people will get affected by that. For me, it's a beautiful challenge.
I'm not feeling anything.
Yeah, I'm a director also. When an actor asks a question, if I don't have an answer, I go, I don't have an answer right now.
When it
comes, it comes.
Yeah.
So I want the making of the work has to be laced with so much truth.
Yeah.
It can't be posed.
What's similar? Because, reading up on your story and the amount of work you've done, I couldn't help. And my brain kept on flashing a face of Peter Musimani in my head because he said the exact same thing. He said, I don't coach players to play soccer. I come up with tactics to win the game.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that means they already know this thing.
Yeah.
And I need to know, Guti, when he's standing there, he'll kick it this way and it'll work.
Yeah. And they must stay there play there more.
Exactly. So and the more I read your work and I realized that it's your similar approach of saying, and you answered it exactly the way I thought you would. What type of director are you? The players, soccer analogy, must know the game first.
Yeah.
They must have the tricks, their own tricks. And then I will give them the platform to shine.
Yes.
And I will bring out the best that I can from them, and the rest they will have to do.
Exactly.
Yes.
I'm not a director who's going to come with a performance wrapped in a beautiful paper with a ribbon and go, ho, 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 here's a gift. No.
So that means you're also waiting to be surprised.
Yeah, yes. Let's because somebody's directing a guy called David Machabel and a guy called James Ngcobo in a play that nobody has ever seen, and whatever. He wants this thing to be amazing. David and James want it to be
amazing.
So it's discovery for all of us. It's not chill on it. And I really, really have been so blessed with unbelievable actors.
Yeah.
And sometimes people say James is very choosy with actors
Are you?
that he works with. I am. I am.
Is it because you're looking for a particular style?
For me, we can't have a session on passion. I'm looking for people who are as passionate about storytelling as I am.
Yeah.
They come in different ages. Some older than me, some around my age group. They're just people you know, and they're young people. I mean, there's two young actors I've met recently. One is called Tuto Hasinswe. Oh my God, this kid.
Yeah.
One is called Samgelisiwe Masego, studied at Rhodes. She came and auditioned for me, and I just said, "My darling, what is this?"
So you're blown away.
Completely,
Wow.
just completely blown away by a young actor, like I mentioned, Katle, Charlie earlier, and whatever. Just like my heart smile when I see a beautiful actor.
Right. And a young one at that.
Young ones, and they will tell you, and they will know when they see this city, this beautiful city that we having that I did say to them, I hold them like this, and I say to them, and some of them get scared, and I go like this. You must never ever change,
and never change career, because then
what you have
we would have lost. Yes,
you know what I mean. And it's selfishly for me, I only grow as a director if I work with brilliant actors.
That's it.
Because if I work with people who are not great, I'm not going to grow. So there's a complete selfish part that is also James's part. My growth.
So, and you're happy to be labeled Uzenza Ngcono for that?
Well, yes,
yeah.
I know. Go for it. Yeah, you can just absolutely go for it. I just love actors who read, who are curious, who watch other actors work, and you know what I mean. That old thing that people say that if you went to a dentist who hasn't read a medical journal in 20 years, you have major problems.
You don't know what he's going to do.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So I just find these absolute ingenues that pop up, these beautiful young actors who you feel that they want to act so much as if somebody told them would batlo hala next Wednesday.
This is their last moment in life.
You know, when I find a young person who has an agency to act, I fall in love with them.
Wow.
That's what I have.
Where are you going next?
Yo,
So this is a special conversation, it seems. We're having it in literally the last few days of an important moment in your life.
Yeah,
Was it a big decision was it a difficult decision to end what is clearly your baby, which is the Market Theatre?
It was a very, very difficult decision because I had the 9 years of working at the Market, but before that I was also associate artistic director at the Market, and I met such a dynamic team that I mean, when I went to the Market, I got to meet an amazing lady called Annabelle Lebete that I worked with, who just said to me, "Welcome, James," and said, "These are things you need to learn. You need to learn these things that are beyond the artistic and the passionate spaces. It's it's a business. Things need to be reported, and whatever you need to learn those things." And so she was so important for me entering the Market space, and then I then realized that what was needed was of me to be brave as an artistic director.
That's it.
And I say this with Katlompo, and I've done a lot of things that are a first off for the Market. I've done things at the Market that had never been done
before. Yes,
and it was not to prove a point. It was that thing we spoke about. It was just a need to better the thinking, and you start doing things, and and there were things where I kept saying, but why has this thing not happened? I mean, I'll make an example. I put, for the first time in the history of the Market Theatre, a 43-member orchestra on stage.
Jeez.
And with 6 soloists, and it was a tribute to Bellini, Puccini, Verdi, Strauss, and Mozart, and got my beautiful brother Kutlwane Masote to come and conduct. And Busi Luchai, we wrote a script for Busi, and people came to the market to watch opera.
That's not a small production at all.
Opera. People were going.
We've never done this.
Yeah, and when you hear the murmur of those voices, you are hit by such humility, and you just go, "My God, we did this thing."
That's amazing.
And being able to take, and you would have seen or heard that one of my passions was to take the market outside of its building, and say the market is not just a building; it's a concept. Also, take things out, get work happening. So it was very difficult, you know, but I knew at the same time that I needed a new journey.
Yes.
I needed to grow.
Yeah.
And this Joburg Theatre moment is a daunting task.
Yeah.
I am not naive about how difficult it's going to be. But David, why would we want to do easy things? You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. What an easy life. The young people call it a soft life.
Yeah, well, I don't like it. Yeah, no, you know, and I love it also, earlier when you were talking that you had this well that you're drinking from, and one day you wake up and you think, whoa, the water level is low there.
Oh, there's no water anymore.
Yeah, you know, and you then carve another path. When you said that, I was very happy.
Yeah.
Because I got a sense that you're mad like me. You're always looking. You always.
It's very unsettling though.
Yeah.
Because you're never quite satisfied.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're constantly, I'll tell you from my experience, you're constantly nervous about the next corner.
Yeah.
And that makes you want to read up on the next corner before you get there.
Yeah.
And it's a constant obsession. It's a very uncomfortable life. You speak about not sleeping. It's my biggest challenge.
Yeah.
I woke up at 2 this morning in anticipation of this conversation because I had a text that said, "Oh, James doesn't like to talk about his life too much." And I was thinking, what in the world am I going to talk to him about? And now that became an obsession. And that's why there are questions. Not one of them says anything about your life.
Beautiful.
Example, bringing out the best out of everyone. It's what you do. Which job best resembles what you do? We spoke about the Pizzo Musimani thing. You know, it's because I said, how do I still get something out of him without really talking about his life?
But the one thing I'll tell you about my life that I enjoy actually talking about, there are just 2 girls in my life that are just so important in my life, and both of them are my grandmothers. One is Mavezi, who's my mother's mother, and the other one is Mangiti. Yeah, my father's mother. Yeah, and she used to take me, and I think even the cooking thing comes from her, because we used to go pick mushrooms in this village where my father was born, and the poisonous ones in my language, Sizulu, they're called Ngcobo. And I used to sit with my grandmother, and I just loved. I used to look at her hands, and we would pick up wild spinach. And the magic of her hands making food.
Wow.
And those people who never believed in telling a boy that they love them. They did this to you, and you knew it means I love you. And sometimes it was uncomfortable.
But you got it.
You have a little body, and they go, but you know they're saying I love you.
Yeah.
And they're just so important in my life, those girls, you know. And I find myself when I take walks, to this day, I talk to Abo Kokobam.
They still come to your thoughts, yes.
No,
what is inspired in that time of your life? Because I see how the cook came out.
Yeah.
Where did the actor or director, this guy who loves the theater and this world of art, where did he come from?
Yeah, I think that's like from Mavezi, that my mother's mother.
Yeah.
She was an orator of note. You know, and had a bit of a temper, and so you always had to navigate her moods. But she told stories, my grandmother, and I fell in love with hearing them. And I think in time I fell in love with the need to be the one telling them. You know, and my father's mother was very aloof.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
she was like very.
You got a chance to experience them so closely. How did that come about? Because very often with kids, there's a side unintentionally that you take because the parents take a side, so to speak, and nothing negative with that. Very often you'd find that you live with the dad's mother and the mother's mother. You see them once in a while.
Yeah.
How did you happen to have experienced them so closely?
I was a problem little boy. When school closed today, the next day, my parents knew I had to go and see one of. I was born with the love of them, and I just said, "Ngiyaga gogo."
That's it.
Yeah, and Baba knew ukuthi kufanele kubekwe imali.
Yes.
Igama lami lesiZulu Sibongeleni. Sibongeleni mfana ubona uma.
That's it.
Uhambe ubona uma.
Which one?
Yeah,
This one. This
you know
time.
what I mean? Yeah, and I know exactly what you're saying. Sometimes is your mother's side that takes over, and Baba is the what, and you know, all families, their issues,
of
and
course,
they mind. I just didn't care for them.
You chose both of them and moved on.
And
yes.
I just like went. Your bunu kokwam, you know, and nothing was going to stop me, and I thank Ubaba no Ma that they gave that to me.
They allowed it.
You know, up until like sengfunda bo form 3, sengimdala, I would go ngiyokhelela ugogo wami amanzi, and at that time you're becoming a hip.
Yeah, we're clever, man.
Yeah, and she baked the best bread. I'm chasing her bread. I make bread, but what's gogo wami was just beyond. So there is intimacy that is in story that one got in the intimacy with Abu Kokbam that is in and a care.
Yeah.
That is in the work that
So you still feel their energy.
Yeah.
Most of the work you do.
Oh yes.
That's amazing.
Yeah, there's almost like there's no work I ever do without Ngchelu Kokobam. I'm doing the work. There isn't. I don't do anything with which I'll be walking in the street and hey Koko gunente kanje.
I see.
Yeah, you know.
What do I find that my relationship with my grandma who passed on years ago, which was very close as well. My dad's mom. I was named after his husband, or her husband rather. And I don't know how, because I'm literally the youngest of so many people before me. And yet I was given the husband's name. So even in the family, Bambizan Tati, because of that.
Yeah.
And I realized...
Is that a Sipedi name?
No. Ntate is in father.
No. But I'm saying the name, not David. Well, what's the other name?
It's both. David and Mutubatsi.
Yeah.
I got both his names. I got an extra one, Paswani, which was a peacemaking name, because there was a battle of leadership.
Yeah.
So I got both. I got a name that's not his, but that was in a way associated to his nemesis.
Yeah.
So it's one of those interesting things when I always relate to, when I speak to her, which is something I do often. I even have a big painting of her where I live. I ask more than I thank, and I realize that I'm being unfair.
Yeah.
I'm always, Ngcobo inhlahla.
Yeah.
And I always feel so unfair.
Yeah.
What type of relationship do you have with these old ladies, as you call them? Girls?
Yeah. No. I've learned over the years. I ask, and over the years also I've learned to say, you know, and they are so interwoven in every journey. So the thing yokbonga comes also
almost naturally.
Yeah. But there is not a project that I'm able to tackle without use tole and even the lady that I got so blessed to end up with in my life, and she's so amazing. She knows when I need space, and she knows that right moment to leave me, and because she has witnessed this when I will just sit and she will say Uring Mshisutu Uring, and then I go, oh no, I'm just Gibuali Koko. And she'd be like, oh, okay, interesting. You know, it was when I met her, she was in that space. And she's gotten because of understanding.
She got it. She gets it.
Yeah, she absolutely gets it. That it's just it's a thing that has become just who I am. That you know, and paying homage and an ode to people. You know, the Abokoko Bet were magicians. You know, a magician goes like this, and they go like this, and then they do this, and the trick is here, and they make you look here. They hid the poverty from us, Abokoko. We never knew what school is prepared. They just hid it. They had an amazing way of hiding things, and things were normal.
Yeah,
and that is why I said I had an unbelievable childhood.
It's a talent.
The pain, they took it away. Abokoko, and you will see also just the idea of creating abundance and things.
Multiplying fish and bread.
Yes.
How in the world is this done?
You know, and so it's. I spoke about memory earlier, and for me to find that to be Muralo I would be a very sad person because you know we offsprings of these girls, and when one has major problems or hurdles that one deals with, I always say there is no kinga that is so big that is bigger than kingas that my grandparents went through.
That's so true.
You know, if you want problems, they went through major problems.
You know,
those are people who are told that from Friday you can only walk on the left.
That's it.
And you look down and whatever. You and I have our things now, which is about growing where we at the brands we are and all.
Take it to the next step.
Yeah, take it to the next step, and we talk about you leave this place because also you don't want to sit and be comfortable in the thing and go somewhere else. You know, I'm looking forward to what's to come at the Joburg Theatre.
Look at, for you, it's more self-actualization issues.
Yeah.
It's not apartheid and things like that.
Yeah.
You know, you just want to achieve your...
It's not. You know,
amazing.
And it's that humility again, where you just go back to what you feel it's heavy for you, and just say, I can carry this thing.
Yeah.
I can absolutely
navigate through it and be okay.
Yeah.
I want to talk about it as we conclude about something that's for me quite fascinating. A boy from Amashu with no education, as we regard education in its classical form of finishing high school and going to university and becoming a learned person. And yet you've made it. In simple terms, in our society, as we look at life, we say, he's made it. He's got accolades. He's got a history, a story to tell about his life. He didn't just sit at the corner and wait for a solution to happen. None of that. How, in simple English, how in the world did you pull it off?
You know, I was sitting a week and a half ago. I was at HUGH, Dr. Bongan Ngulunga and Dr. Spurmala. They asked me to come and speak to international writing students. And I was talking to the students. And when we were done outside, one of them sort of say a similar question. I guess, David, it's just when you have a need to get something right, and you are never complacent about the getting of it. It might be a bit of a lame answer, but
it is.
But that's what it is. I am a chaser. I chase things.
Do you ever feel inadequate because you have this one extra door that you didn't get into that most people regard as the natural place to the natural step? Do you ever feel inadequate?
Yeah. Trust me, there's been moments of insecurity about it. There's definitely been moments of I don't have a thing that hangs on the
On
wall.
the wall that has a university name on it.
Yes, I have no alma mater.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
As one would say.
Yes.
And
member of convocation.
yes.
You're not, yes.
But what also I think it's part of the person that I am. I'm yet at the same time I'm not one of those people who are averse to working with people who are highly educated. I work with PhDs and masters people. We get in the room and roll sleeves and you know what I mean, and work and life has given me. I mean, it's like I've gone, universities in the UK, to be asked to come and give a masterclass. I was invited by university, Georgetown University in Washington DC to come and when America as a country was celebrating the life of Lorraine Hansberry, I was invited to come and direct the night, and which we did with a lady called Josette, a British lady who was knighted by the Queen, and I went there with 2 South African actors, and there were American actors and Swedish actors, and Dutch actors. So what am I saying is there's been moments of insecurity, but when I'm in a room, I'm not a guy to look down at myself. I just don't, you know what I mean?
It's the proud Zulu guy comes out.
Yeah, no, exactly. I'm not going to be
small.
No. My mother never gave birth to a small child.
Yeah.
A small thinker, and there's 12 of us.
I was about to say, a big family like that, what does it do to you? What has that done to your personality and your character? Having been raised in such a huge family, mine is relatively tiny.
Yeah,
it is extended family, but my immediate setup is quite small. What has it done to your state of mind?
Yeah, I mean, you've noticed I'm a guy that looks somebody in the eye and speak. And
absolutely,
you can't be you're shy, and there's 12 of you. What do you mean you're shy? Shy,
you can't be. Yeah,
and so that's what I learned at a very young age, a sense of being in a cluster. And that's what one got from, and then what it did for my music taste is crazy.
Of course, there's 12 different opinions.
Hectic and, and when I cook in my house, in the kitchen, I've got a little radio, and there's always CDs that I cook with. It's Clifford Brown.
Jeez.
It's Miles, and my favorite Mozart work, his last work, the Requiem.
Jeez.
And I will go to. I've got every album that Crosby, Stills and Nash ever produced.
What?
It's
those moments where they think.
Brother.
It's those moments where people think we elite Lomont.
Yeah. Why duets? And so you got, because also when you're number 10 of 12, there's a lot
before you, and they're much older.
Filters, yes. And
much older.
And you still. With the day do like this, you still have people where you sit a kaya plan or something with what and then somebody says, what are you thinking? And then I speak, and one of my sisters will say, are you done? And I said yes, and she said right. So what we're doing is the opposite of just like this.
You just got a platform.
Yeah,
and silent one.
Yeah, no, forever.
That's amazing.
And so it's that, and then as I said, that I finish my matric, I get into the Loft Theatre Company, and the gift of it, when you're in the company, you can't have an ego.
No.
The company teaches you very quickly that it's never about you.
Yes.
It's about a company. So you learn at an early stage to say it's not about competition, it's about contribution. And I'm saddened sometimes. I've never competed with.
Always a collective.
Yeah,
effort.
I've got actors who are my age group. Beautiful. I mean, I remember when I was in Yizo. Jeez, I'm acting with Vusignan.
Yeah.
With Esmeralda Peel, with Nambit and Pubulwana, with Mains in Gubang.
Yeah,
and whatever. There was. I was talking to Vusi 2 days ago. We call each other before. There's never a we're such different actors. I never ever compete. And so when you find, there is nothing that saddens me in our sector like egos. And sometimes some people that you think you've known them so well, and the ego just
flares up.
Yeah, and I go,
rears its ugly head.
Still there. You know, I thought we were
past that.
Yeah, you know, and when I see it and then immediately to protect myself, I just stay away from such energies. And also I've lived all my life with that sense of existentialism. I constantly think of a grave that waits for me.
Yes, why you here?
Yeah, yes. Do
you have a peaceful relationship with that? With death?
Oh yeah, I've never. I've always said, in fact, our people, we never fear death. I mean, some of the most beautiful proverbs in isiZulu language are about death.
Yeah.
Because the idea of dying was never about heaven or hell, was ubuyele ekhaya. You know, and there's also a humility about an understanding that a journey takes another path. Sometimes it's not going to stay
straight.
You know what I mean? I've had issues where people around me will be like this with my two sons, because I started talking about death with them
a while ago.
Yeah, and I will have a kid who's 5 who says, "Whenever I'm and people are going, "I no. Me, I've opened the door with my ones, and so that they appreciate me whilst I'm still around, and I appreciate them as my sons, the two boys that I have. But I just feel, David, all the time that we waste so much of our energy in trivia than
in our relationships.
Then in how are you, my brother? And when I say how are you, I must wait for your answer. There are people who say how are you because it's a generic question that they just ask. So it's too, it again goes back to Abokoko, goes back to special people I've worked with, like Uprayo. Another very special man that I worked with was Joe Mafela.
Yes.
Joe Mafela is the reason I got into television.
Really?
Yeah.
You were holding on to the stage.
Yeah, I was on the stage, and Joe got me onto Going Up.
Jeez.
I got into Going Up, and I got to discover that I had funny poems, that I could do comedy, and I got into Going Up, and I was acting opposite Chaba Mrejele. I was playing this guy who was like a maths
yes.
and went back to television, and Joe Mafela was in a stokvel that he was part of until his death, that was called Scrapyard, that was in Alex. It still exists to this day, and Joe created stokvel for me and Mshidi Mtsego. Yeah, and before we shoot, Mshidi got something else. That's how Managaranaka ended up. And I remember I was playing a lead in a play called The Pen. It was called The Pen. And The Pen was opening on Friday night at the market.
Yeah.
And during the day, a lady called Roberta Durant called me and said, "Has Vusi Tibakwane called you?" And I said, "No." It said, "Vusi will call you." Vusi called me and said, "Hey, how's it, James in the shop? Listen, man, I believe we have an opening night here. No, man, Ube Grand, we want to see you tomorrow." What is this about, Bavus? No, we've lost Mshidi. We've got 6 women tomorrow that we are auditioning. We want you to choose the woman to play your wife. It's just something unbelievable. That is very rare. Some lekker vinyl. I see you've got King Kong.
No. I have a great collection. I've been very lucky to have collected music. For me, it dates back to Atteridgeville in Pretoria.
Yeah.
Where I used to work. I was a kid. I was 11. I used to work at a shop, like a fish and chips shop.
Yeah.
And at the back, we used to, our job as little boys in the family was to clean the potatoes for my chips. And there was always, my aunts used to play the spinners. And I fell in love with music literally in that time. I didn't get music. My only memory with my mom and music is a tapestry. I used to have it here. And I used to love that song, that music in that album. It's the only reference I have. But I have a lot of reference with my aunts. For going there every weekend for a long, long time, I fell in love with music. And I know for a fact it's the reason I'm on radio. Because I need to hear music all the time. And for me to feel like I'm a complete person. And that's why I have so much music around me. There's a moment in my life where music became a tool and it wasn't for enjoyment anymore. And that was a sad moment where I realized that I want to hear a song for 10 seconds and I know it's a nice song and I move on. But I'm back now to wanting to hear a full song and enjoy it. And I'm glad. So the collection is actually ridiculous. I have maybe 1,000 records. I collect the actual records. I still enjoy the idea of having
vinyl.
Vinyl. I absolutely love them.
Like 1,000.
No. I have
a room also that is like the CD stuff that I could buy. Where you just think, well, somebody will enjoy it one day.
That's the thing. I keep thinking.
There is. I just got that vinyl, Quincy Jones, the one with "What Good Is a Song."
Oh yes.
Yeah. The red and the yellow.
I got it.
Yeah, Al Jarreau also I enjoy, and the other artists I enjoy on vinyl is Stevie Wonder.
Oh yes.
Songs in the key. I've got songs in the key of life, the Aquarium, Fulfillness, First Finale, all on vinyl.
Wow.
And just stuck and
I still buy relatively brand new albums. When there's a sale, you find. Because people always give up vinyls, where like your kids may say, we don't want this stuff. And they would put them up somewhere for sale. I still want to know what your dad had. Because I find there's a lot of gems in there. But I collect music, commercial music. I like the idea of collecting familiar songs. I don't care about an album that nobody cared for. I don't want to hear it. I want to hear because I only have so much time to listen to the music anyway. I can't listen to all the music in the world. And that's really what it is. We're talking about the amount of time you still put into the work. You won't believe how many hours I spend in listening to music. Not even the show. Like when I couldn't sleep last night, I spent maybe 2 hours listening to songs. I listen to beats per minute. How fast is the song? Which one does it go with? The keys, is it a nice key for all of that? It's the craziest reality. David, I'm a musician.
It's the care for
I guess
this podcast that you're doing.
I guess.
And the people who do cool podcasts.
Yes, and there's room for that.
Yes. But it's the care, without the care.
Jeez.
Excuse me. And I also find that's why I'm here because I know the care you put into, there are other things that one says no to. And you no, I can't do that. And whatever. And we choose who we sit and have
these conversations with,
No, have to. Otherwise, you'll just
be everywhere,
chatting to the whole world.
I must tell you, and it segues nicely to what I'm about to talk about. I think I'm lucky. I really genuinely think I'm very fortunate. I've been in spaces and I've sat across people that I say, how the hell did I pull that off? And do you think luck has something to do with how your life has worked out as well?
Yeah, no, I think we all have a moment of just like this luck that comes your way.
Yeah,
but it must find you ready.
That's it.
It must. You can't be chasing luck, and it must just find you ready on the gallop.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And the readiness of that thing that you pray for, or the thing that just gets dropped your way, and when it does, you come out like John D. Rhodes and reach and
Receive.
and grab that thing and because also you can't get that stroke of luck that comes your way and then and just say, well, it's come, and then you're not gonna it happens, but you must break your back.
That's it.
And also then the other thing to add, the humility to learn.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because
it's part of the readiness.
Yes, exactly. Because also there are people who always say, that's why I've never been a fan of networking. When people say, on Thursday, yeah, network. I don't know how to start in this networking thing. Because there are people who network so brilliantly and they become masters at it, and they get contacts. And then one day the contact opens the door.
That's it.
And you go in. There's that little insignificant question that needs to sit in your mind. What will you do when the door is open for you?
Will you be ready?
We never think of what you will do when we think we're always chasing a door to be open.
Yeah.
But when somebody says, no, this one you don't have to chase, I come in.
Here it is.
What are you going to do?
As a friend of mine, he's changed his ways. Shella everyone. And I say, what if Mati, yes, all of them?
Yeah.
What do you do with that now? Because now you have a new problem.
Yeah.
I don't think that far. I enjoy ukshela.
Yeah.
Not.
Yeah.
Ukshela kunamarizals.
Yeah, kunamarizals. Yeah. Ushela umuntu avela athi, hey, I thought you didn't even see me.
Yeah, boy.
And then there's 5 of them in 1 week would say that.
Exactly. So it's exactly that. It's being able to see beyond this as well.
Yeah.
It has a lot to do with it as well.
Yeah.
Because I look at your life and I say, it cannot be luck. There's Woza Albert in your story.
Yeah.
Is it Caesar Barnes in your story?
Yeah. Caesar Barnes with Silo.
Yeah.
And so Woza Albert, I've never been in it, but I've been around producing it.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's why I say that's why I say you have landmark big shows in your life. Your life story has it's not a page. It's a couple of pages in the story of South African theater.
Yeah.
And I always look at it and say, wow, man, I'm sitting in front of Utenzela.
No, one really has been blessed to be in such amazing productions. And some of the things also for me that I've valued so much is when you get cast to go and start rehearsals day one with English actors.
Mm-hmm.
And you're taken from South Africa to go and work with people you've never met.
That's it.
And, and
that has happened a few times in your life.
Yeah. And it stays with you, this thing. And you meet, in August, I'm going to Scotland and London. I've got friends that I've acted with, that I start calling and set up times that I'm coming and they say, no, I will be in London, James, we must meet. Come to the house, come cook, let's sit, let's chat. And these are beautiful work comrades. We've done beautiful stuff together with, and you embrace those moments with everything and just go, I don't know when the light goes off, but it's still on.
It's still on. Wow. What a way to conclude it. I don't know when the life goes off, but it's still on.
Yeah.
I wish you well. I think we're very lucky in South Africa to have you as one of us. South Africans who make a contribution, for me, are my favorite people.
Yeah.
Because we have a society of people who wait.
Yeah.
We've created it as a society. We are part of creating this waiting culture. They'll come and help us. We have that, and while we're waiting, we get disabled. And my favorite South Africans, which is part of the reason I've created this, is to celebrate people who are not waiting.
Yeah.
They are doing.
Yeah.
And for me, they please me the most. And I look at your work and what you continue to do in a space that other people would say it's not commercially viable. That's why it was my first question. Is there business in this?
Yeah.
And you said, absolutely, there is.
Yeah.
And I look at it and I say to you, thank you for for being born here. And thank you for following your heart, because that's really what happened.
Yeah.
You could have been a plumber.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And that's why I say thank you for being following your heart and staying with it, because it's easy to be kunemali lapho, kunethenda, and then you get distracted. Do you know what I mean? Nyabuya. And that's why I say thank you for allowing us as South Africans to enjoy you and enjoy your talent. And for that, we are blessed. We're truly, truly blessed that you have shared your story with us. You know? And I know we literally just read 3 pages in the 2 hours and 21 minutes.
Yeah.
It was just 3 pages of an amazing life.
Yeah.
And I wish you well. I wish you and your family well. You speak very highly of your walking. I'm a walker as well.
Yeah.
I've done Kilimanjaro. That's how much walking I do.
Yeah.
I've done Midrand to Mamelodi.
Yeah, beautiful.
Done it twice.
Yeah.
Crazy walk. It's not safe anymore, but it's my favorite thing to do.
Yeah. When is this walk? Next time it happens, please come.
I will definitely do it.
Yeah.
You know, I do the ridiculous type. The ones that are you mad?
Yeah.
I remember once I told one of the guys here at the office, hey, I need you to drop me off in Randburg. Ati Nyaglanda. I said, no, you're not dropping me off anywhere where I'm doing something. You're dropping me off so I can walk to the office. And he dropped me off a good, I don't know, maybe 20 kilometers away. And I walked to the office. I needed to think.
You see, come here, my brother, because people always think it's about getting fit.
No.
It's about solitude.
Yeah.
It is so important that we live in a maze. It's nice to just come out of it. Those moments of solitude are absolutely so pivotal in one's life, because you walk. I always say when I walk, it's almost like I have a sieve. And everything, and the stuff I don't need, and whatever, and I feel so lifted when I go, and
big decisions are made in those walks. Yes,
and I travel a lot wherever I go. There are 2 things I need that needs to happen wherever I go. Is I need to find a secondhand bookshop and buy a book from a secondhand shop that will be part of the memory of it. That city that was.
This
you know
book
what I mean?
Is from here.
Yeah, and sometimes it's got somebody's signature and whatever. And I've got a couple of them in my house.
That's nice.
And I walk cities. I've
walked
the gorge in Cape Town. I have never ever taken a cable car up Table Mountain. I take it coming down.
Oh yes,
I've
done that too. You walk up the mountain.
Yeah, and
it's not an easy walk.
A lady that I ended up cycling with, one of the biggest testers I wanted to see when we met was the walking. I took it up Gorge. We walked for 4 hours to go and see Zina Garrison, who was the first black woman to compete in Wimbledon in 55 years.
And she walked it.
Yeah, she walked, and I thought, this is my girl.
Sure. It's cock. Thank you very much.
Thanks,
it's grand. That's our story today. Thank you very much. It's the great Jamuzi. Jamuzu.
Yeah.
Jamuzu Ngcobo. It's one day it'll be doctor from some school that would have honored you accordingly. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Take care. It's grand.
King David Studio Podcast.